You don't fall into debt all at once. It happens quietly, between a swipe, a tap, a month where nothing goes wrong except your balance never goes back to zero. And one day you realize something uncomfortable. You're working, you're earning, but you're moving backward. That's the part no one likes to say out loud, because most debt advice assumes you're reckless, lazy, or bad with money. But what if you did everything normal, and normal is the problem? Right now, consumer debt is exploding. Credit cards, personal loans, buy now, pay later, education loans. Not because people suddenly forgot how math works, but because the system quietly changed while our habits didn't. And if you don't understand how that system actually works, you'll never escape it. This isn't a pep talk. This is the uncomfortable math. Let's start with a simple story. Imagine you owe $10,000 on a credit card at 20% interest. You make the minimum payment every month. You feel responsible, adult, disciplined. Here's what's not obvious. That minimum payment is designed so you mostly pay interest first, not by accident, by design. In the first year, you might pay thousands of dollars and barely touch the principal. That's not a trap you fell into. That's a product you were sold. Banks don't make money when you borrow. They make money when you borrow forever. And this is the first mindset shift that actually matters. Debt is not an emergency. Debt is a business model. Once you see that, the advice changes. Most people are told, pay more when you can, cut back a little, be patient. That's fine advice if interest didn't exist, but interest is not neutral. It's time weaponized. At 20% interest, your debt roughly doubles every 4 years if untouched. Your income doesn't do that. Your discipline doesn't do that. Your motivation definitely doesn't. So step 1 isn't budgeting, it's stopping the bleeding, not emotionally, mathematically. You don't need to attack all debt at once. That's exhausting and unrealistic. You need to isolate the most aggressive one, the debt with the highest interest rate, because that one is growing faster than your effort. Here's the quiet trick. Minimum payments keep debt alive. Fixed payments kill it. When you pay a fixed amount higher than the minimum every single month, something subtle changes. At first, nothing feels different. Then, one month, the interest portion drops. Then faster. Then suddenly, your payment actually works. That moment is rare and powerful, but most people never reach it because they spread their effort across too many debts. Which brings us to the second uncomfortable truth. You don't get out of debt by being fair. You get out of debt by being ruthless. Ruthless with prioritization. This is where hype enters. You've heard of methods that promise emotional wins, snowballs, ladders, systems with names. They're not useless, they're just incomplete. Because emotionally satisfying doesn't always mean financially efficient. Paying off a small debt feels good, but if a larger, high-interest debt keeps compounding in the background, you're celebrating while the fire spreads. The math doesn't care how you feel. That doesn't mean ignore psychology. It means aim it properly. Your goal is momentum, not comfort. And momentum comes from reducing interest first, not balances. Now, let's zoom out. Why does this feel harder now than it did 10 or 20 years ago? Because debt used to be occasional, now it's structural. Payments are normalized, subscriptions, EMIs, installments, everything sliced into affordable monthly pieces, which hides the total cost. A $30,000 purchase doesn't feel like $30,000 when it's framed as just $4.99 a month. That framing is not accidental. It trains you to think in payments instead of price. But your future self pays the price, with fewer options, less flexibility, more stress. Here's the third shift that matters. You don't need more income to escape debt. You need margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what you've already promised. Debt destroys margin before it destroys motivation. That's why raises disappear, bonuses vanish, side hustles feel pointless. They don't fail because you didn't earn enough. They fail because interest ate the upside first. So the real strategy isn't make more, it's keep more uncommitted. This is where reality clashes with advice culture. Cutting coffee won't save you, but cutting fixed obligations might. Selling a financed lifestyle you don't actually enjoy anymore, that helps. Downgrading quietly instead of maintaining appearances, that helps. Not optimizing expenses, but deleting them changes the math completely. And yes, it's uncomfortable, because debt is tied to identity now. The car you drive, the phone you use, the life you appear to live. Escaping debt often looks like going backward socially before moving forward financially. That irony matters. The people who look like they're winning are often leveraged. The people rebuilding look invisible. Now, here's the part most advice skips. There is a point where paying debt aggressively stops making sense. If your interest rate is low and inflation is high, the math changes. Not all debt is equal. Some debt decays over time. Some grows teeth. Understanding that difference keeps you from fighting the wrong battle. High-interest consumer debt is urgent. Low-interest long-term debt is strategic. Treating them the same keeps you stuck in panic mode, and panic leads to bad decisions. Finally, zoom out even more. Debt isn't just a personal problem, it's a systemic risk. When millions of people are locked into payments, consumption slows, stress rises, risk tolerance drops. That's right, economic shocks hurt harder now. A system built on leverage works until it doesn't. So getting out of debt isn't just about peace of mind, it's about resilience, about buying back optionality, the ability to say no, to pause, to choose. And here's the final uncomfortable thought. Most people don't stay in debt because they can't escape. They stay because escaping requires questioning what they were sold as normal. So here's the real question. If debt is no longer just a tool, if it's a lifestyle default,